So you're going to figure out one day that it's harder to be kind than clever.
If you really want to be successful, you need to make sure that you know who you really are. You need to make sure that you're focused on everything that is true to your being and how you become the best version of you every single day. Now, there's going to be days where you feel like quitting and you don't feel like moving on and pushing forward for your dreams. But those are the days that you're going to have to buckle down and figure out what it is that makes you tick. You need to make sure that whatever you're doing, you are truly passionate about, because that's how you're going to stay motivated. As long as you love what you're doing, you're going to really want to do it every single day, and that way you improve upon it every single day and you slowly become more successful day in and day out. And if you completely dedicate yourself to your dreams and your aspirations, they will happen, because you're going to put all the time and energy that is necessary into being the person of your dreams.
Usually it's about, do you have energy? Is your work depriving you of energy, or is your work generating energy for you?
Another way to make that happen is by writing it down every morning. You wake up in the morning, the first thing you should do is write down your goals, so that way you know what it is that you're trying to get out of every day and how you're trying to move yourself forward and what you're striving for. And if you do that every single day, you're going to wake up and that's going to be your first thought of the day, is how to achieve that goal that you set out to do and how do you make it happen, because you know you're going to work hard and you're going to dedicate time and you're going to learn the knowledge that you need, and you just need to make sure that you are doing all those things every single day. And that doesn't have to be a lot a day, just a little bit here and there, so that it slowly adds up and you'll be successful over time.
I work with these people who, they're missionaries for what they do. One of the things that's very important to note about stress is that stress primarily comes from not taking action over something that you can have some control over. So if I find that some particular thing is causing me to have stress, that's a warning flag for me. What it means is there's something that I haven't completely identified, perhaps in my conscious mind, that is bothering me, and I haven't yet taken any action on it. I find as soon as I identify it and make the first phone call or send off the first email message or whatever it is that we're going to do to start to address that situation, even if it's not solved, the mere fact that we're addressing it dramatically reduces any stress that might come from it. So stress comes from ignoring things that you shouldn't be ignoring, I think, in large part. So stress doesn't come, people get wrong all the time in my opinion, stress doesn't come from hard work. For example, you can be working incredibly hard and loving it. And likewise, you can be out of work and incredibly stressed over that. So, and likewise, if you kind of use that as an analogy for what I was just talking about, if you're out of work, but you're going through, a disciplined approach of, a series of job interviews and so on and working to remedy that situation, you're going to be a lot less stressed than if you're just worrying about it and doing nothing.
My advice would be the same for any kind of entrepreneur, and that is make sure that you are focused on something you're passionate about. So if you look at the early internet companies, they were started and focused on doing something that they thought was very interesting long before the internet was fashionable in any way. We are currently an underdog once again. We've been in business for 6 years, and there was exactly 1 year where we were not the underdog, and that was 1999. I like the underdog years because it makes, I liked it when all the people we hired, their parents told them they were crazy. That was kind of the good era. Fortunately, it's back. In 1999, all the parents were like, giving their brothers and sisters high fives. My son is working at Amazon.com.
There are a lot of things that are a waste of time. When you think about your life, I often tell people that I work with, if you can people have very high standards for how they want their work life to be. And I said, look, if you can get your work life to be where you enjoy half of it, that is amazing, because very few people ever achieve that. Because the truth is, everything comes with overhead. That's reality. Everything comes with pieces that you don't like. You could be a Supreme Court justice, and there's still going to be pieces of your job you don't like. You can be a university professor, and every job comes with pieces you don't like. And we need to say, that's part of it, and not resent those pieces, or try not to, but also try to minimize them. I tell senior executives, you should have the least stress. There's this weird, I think, false idea that CEOs, I'm a CEO, there's this false idea that CEOs are under the most stress. I look at that, I'm like, why? You're in charge. Why don't you delegate the stress? It's your choice. You have to figure out how to set up your life in such a way that you can minimize the things.
Well, long-term thinking is a lever. It lets you do things that you could not do or couldn't even conceive of doing if you were thinking short-term. So I have a project where I'm helping a group of people build a 10,000-year clock. It kind of ticks once a year and dongs once a century, and the cuckoo comes out once a millennium. And the 10,000-year clock is a symbol. I don't think it'll do anything for the first few hundred years, but after a few hundred years, once it's old, people start to pay attention to older symbols. And so a few hundred years from now, I hope that people will think about that as a symbol for long-term thinking. If I collaborated with somebody here in this audience and I said, look, I want you to solve world hunger, and I want you to do it in 5 years, you would properly reject the opportunity. You would say, look, it's not possible, it's not practical. But if I said, look, I want you to solve world hunger in 100 years, that's a job you'd take because it's a much more addressable problem. You can first create the conditions. You have time to create the conditions where then you can solve the problem. And so that's a very important way of thinking, and it works with everything. I mean, you have to back up and find the right time horizon for what you're trying to do.
Thanks for watching the video. Go and subscribe to the channel and tell us what you thought down in the comment section below.